Hello and welcome to the Fighting Dirty Gaming Podcast. My name's Gary.
I'm Matt.
And today we're going to be talking about the ancient art of karaoke, Street Fighter toys, and purchasing games that we hope to play very soon. So how have you been doing, my best, longest friend?
Man, I've been pretty good, dude. Super busy, but good. Had a really fun weekend. Had a lot going on, but it was nice. I was super busy all week. I had midterms, and so I had a bunch of stuff to do. So that whole week was just like... And I was trying to podcast with you last week, and you were tired on a Monday, and then on a Tuesday. Nothing was working out, and I was like, fuck it. The rest of my week is shot, and I will see you at karaoke. So when I got done, and I literally finished my midterm, it was like type, save, send, get in the car, we're going to karaoke. It was like that. That was like, so.
Oh boy, man, it was definitely worth your rough week, wasn't it?
It was amazing. We got together in our hometown, and we just jammed out to some karaoke with just, the salt of the earth kind of people, and lots of our friends came out, and, I mean, we kind of just tore the house down.
Oh, 1,000%. We were probably I would say like the 10th song maybe. There was a bunch of country. It was country night at the American Legion, and I was talking to you guys, and I was like, guys, let's go up there and do Bohemian Rhapsody, and you looked me in the eyes like a man and said, no. And I was like, listen, we can do this. And we had two other buddies there, Alex and Sean. I went up, I signed us up anyways, because you and I were having trouble figuring out what to sing. So I was like, dude, let's just do it. Fuck it, let's do it. And we tore the house down with that song. I remember you were walking off, and you go, shut it down.
Raise the flag up. And then burn this place to the ground is what I was saying all night long. Yeah, shut it down. We're done.
It doesn't get better than that.
So just close this down. We're done. Karaoke's over with. Yes, we destroyed it. And in between songs, at some point, there was a barroom brawl between a father and a son. It was insane and hilarious at the same time because the son was like you and I, bald, and the father was older and more mullety, full glorious mullet, oiled with a sheen, combed, curled. It was glorious, and I was super jealous of that man. So,
and that was the thing, like you could tell it wasn't just like a half-ass mullet. He took care of that thing. It was immaculate.
The 80s are back in full effect, and he's the hottest dude at the bar, and I think that was the problem. I think he was just... He was literally too much like Ravishing Rick Rude, or
that's a great analogy.
Yeah,
that's a huge shadow to try to get out of. So no wonder his son was so mad. I mean, can you imagine being in that mullet's just shadow? That casts a long business and party shadow.
I mean, my dad has a full head of silver hair, but it is nothing compared to what this guy's got going up top.
No.
This was not just, what's the phrase, business up front, party in the back.
The back, yes.
This guy was all party. He was all party, and he meant business, so if that makes sense.
It does. Our buddy Alex was there with us, and I was just there enjoying the fiasco that was going on between father and son. And I was just standing there smiling, and he grabbed me by the arm and physically moved me out of the way. And I was like, what are you doing? Not 2 seconds later, the son, who was kind of built like a fat brick shithouse, just starts storming out of the way. And he just buckled me backwards. I was like, whoa! Had I been where if Alex would have just left me where I was, man, he probably would have punched me and just knocked me down completely, and then things would have escalated. So Alex honestly saved the day. I owe that guy a beer for sure.
Oh, he earned his stripes. Later, Sean and I are singing "Rats Round and Round," and that same guy came through the door because there's a door right by the stage in quotations. Yeah. And he ran into Sean while we're singing, and he was like, "Easy." It was just Oh, gosh, this town. Yeah, it was great. It was amazing. I mean, my sister was there. I had multiple friends there. It was just
it was awesome. We had such a good group.
Such a good time at karaoke. So just wanted to get that off. Like, this is the kind of shenanigans we get into when we're not playing games. We're enjoying ourselves at karaoke. We're going to concerts. We're just trying to enjoy ourselves, and that's really what's been going on with the Fighting Dirty Boys. Yeah,
we're getting down and dirty. And what's funny about that was this karaoke night was at an American Legion, which, you don't think of as being a very hip bar or cool bar even, or something that, younger people go to. But man, it's a fun bar. It's got its own quaint little things. I mean, it's a very small bar, but man, it packs in there during karaoke night and everyone has a good time. That was one of the first fights I've ever seen there, but it was a rarity, obviously, but it didn't spoil the night at all. It got weird for a minute. Then we got right back to it.
Yeah, then we got weird.
Sure. This was funny, though. Sean and I went up and sang Sad But True by Metallica, and in the song, like, James Hetfield will say, like, you, and it'll, like, echo and go, you. So I was saying, you, and Sean would go, you, do the echo for me. Wow. And I started dying laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. It was the most fun I've ever had. Wow. So... yeah, it was the most fun I've ever had there.
Oh, I've
had more fun before. I mean, but anywho, we got on our agenda here Street Fighter Funko Pop toys, and you know what? I have not heard anything about this, so I'm going to go ahead and let you enlighten me.
Oh, man, I am on this Funko Pop life, and it is amazing. And I'm on the page. I'm on the Facebook page. I'm following them, and they are releasing Funko Pop Street Fighter, and it is amazing. They look so sick. Oh, you're going to love these. They look so sick, seriously. Balrog, Blanca, Sexy Ryu.
Yeah, I'm seeing this now. You got Sexy
Ryu. Ken, Cammy, Sexy Cammy. I'm saying too much, but like you get the idea. All the big ones. I think there's only 8 or something in the first wave, but I figured we could just talk about it because ain't nobody playing no Street Fighter, so I might as well just buy some Street Fighter toys.
So I've got the picture here. So it is Chun-Li, Ryu, Ken, Cammy, Blanca, Balrog, Dan, and Sexy Ryu.
Oh, that Dan looks sick.
Yeah, he really does. He's got the rat tail in the back.
Yeah, that rat tail.
Out. Wow. And what they've got it here marked down as $75 for all 8 of them, which is probably around
that's cheap, man.
They're generally about $10 a piece, so that's pretty good price for what I'm seeing here. Yeah, these look really good. I'd like to order this and parcel these out for prizes for one of our fight nights that we have.
That's a really good idea. We should do that.
Yeah, we should pre-order these and get these. These look really good.
I want some. Maybe you keep one, I keep one, and then we raffle off the other 6. What do you think about that?
I'm going to go ahead and keep Balrog. Okay. For sure.
All right.
So, I like that. I like that idea. Those look really cool.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Oh, good. See, we're making plans. I like this. So.
All right. So hey, that wasn't even my intention. I just wanted you to look at them because they're amazing. They look so cool. I love the way these Funko Pop toys look. They fit so great on my shelf. And yes, I take it out of the box and I play with it. Man, I have a freaking Attack on Titan. Big, like it's like the bigger one, hanging out with my Rocky Horror Picture Show Dr. Frankenfurter. I mean, it's just and you can't do that in boxes. You can't just these aren't going to be worth anything. These are just for fun, and I love the way they look, and I need one of these guys on my shelf. I like that Dan. That Dan is...
yeah, the Dan looks really good.
So awesome. So anyways...
I think Dan and Chun-Li and Sexy Ryu look the best there. Chun-Li looks really good.
Yeah, that's Sexy Ryu. Jesus.
Yeah, that needs to be on my shelf there. So, those look really good. I like that, so... we've actually ordered a couple new games going along with our other games that we've ordered and haven't played. So you and I both got our hands on Mechs vs. Minions. I don't think you originally planned on buying it, did you? Or did you kind of just last second decide to pick it up?
I got hot on this in the maybe the last week or two before the ordering went down. And when I knew when that's why I had you send me the reminder, like today's the day, boom, I wanted to get my copy. I didn't want to miss out. I knew it was going to be hot, and man, was it ever freaking hot.
Holy moly, man. I was in line, in quotation marks, for 2 hours trying to get this freaking game. What ended up happening was I was just getting frustrated. I was sitting here just not able to do anything. The League of Legends store completely just locked up. I couldn't get to the cart to order it. I couldn't put my information, anything like that. So I was looking through Twitter trying to find out what the deal was, and it was like people from Europe were getting it, from Japan, and I'm like, man, what the hell? Like, the League of Legends servers are in Chicago. I could literally drive up there, put my order, and drive back then quicker than what I've done just sitting here waiting. So I was on Twitter and Board Game Geek, and I found what people were doing. They're adding, like, little extra slashes at the end of the link, and for some weird reason, it worked. It got me into the store. I got my copy, and then I ended up texting you and told you, like, hey, you just got to add, like, a bunch of backslashes at the end of this to get it to work, and I think it worked for you too. You got your copy. I actually physically got mine not even a week after I ordered it, and I think you have they sent you an email letting you know?
I got it in the mail today.
Oh, you got it! Awesome, cool. Did you open it up yet?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Are you going to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I seriously, I got home and I had to start doing homework, so it's still in the freaking UPS box, dude. But I got it today.
Gosh.
Today.
Is it close to you?
It's 20 feet away.
Man, I wish you opened up, because this game's like one of the heaviest games I've ever picked up.
Is heavy as all get out, yeah.
Yeah, you'll open that box. There's a few papers in there to kind of keep it from sloshing around. But then you pick the actual game up, and you're like, oh my gosh, how is shipping on this $5?
Well, my experience with getting it real quick, like, I felt like, man, so I first started off, I was on my phone, so I was just hitting refresh on my phone, just like killed the battery. I was like, all right, get the computer out, maybe it'll be better. It was 8, 9 o'clock at night before I finally got it, and I'm telling you, I tried 4 backslashes. I tried 400 backslashes. Like, let me just tell you, I described it to you as I had to go into the Matrix. Yeah. That's what I did. I went into the Matrix, I got my copy, I ordered it, and I was super hyped. And I don't know if I was number 20,000 or number 29,999, but I got my freaking copy, and I'm super excited for it. And it was $75 with $5 shipping, and it's seriously, you got yours last week, I got mine today. It's Monday, and I mean, we ordered ours. I know you were at the beginning and I was at the end, so Jesus Christ, it's amazing what they've done. Now, is the game any good? I don't know. This is not the review for Mechs vs. Minions. This is just to talk about the process, and the process was kind of cool. It's kind of exciting. Like, you can tell that, I mean, like, oh my God, we're crashing their webpage. This is insane. They can't handle, it's crazy that they can't handle this right now. That means there's that many people getting it. Oh shit, I may not get it. Like, it's very exciting. And it's more fun than shopping at Cool Stuff. Because it's just like, hi, Cool Stuff. Yep, we don't got it.
Yep. Yeah, it was very unique. It felt kind of like standing in line at GameStop waiting to get, like, a Halo game 15 years ago. That's what it felt like to me. I was like, come on, I just want my copy. I want to go. But it's really cool. I'm very glad that they sold out. I'm glad that the game is getting the buzz that it is. It's League of Legends is one of my favorite games. I love it. I love that they got into the business of it, and that this game is just a labor of love for them. Those guys love to play board games, so they decided to make their own thing. They did the fans a solid by selling it through their own website, not going through middlemen and through distributors. The game's $80, and this game should honestly be selling for like $180. It's unbelievable. I picked the game up, and I was like, oh my gosh. Took the top of the lid off. The top of the lid on the game is the most quality product you can ever see. This box is very durable. It's made with quality cardboard, and you can see they put a ton of thought into this game because there's like 4 trays in there that holds all the cards, all the pieces, all the minions, and there's like 100 minions in there, man, and it all fits in this box. And the trays are amazing. I can't believe they can fit all this crap in there. It's so cool. They really did the hobby a service because other game companies are going to have to up their game because they just got punked out by a company that, even though they have a lot of money, this is their rookie effort, and people are just going wild about this game.
I'm curious to see where it will rank on the Board Game Geek list because it's not everybody can get it, but everybody who has it's it's gonna have a score on the Board Game Geek list. So like, where is it gonna be? Is it gonna be immediately be? I haven't looked at it at all because the game's just gotten shipped. But I'll be curious. So let's watch that and kind of think about it, and then we gotta play it. And then we're going to come out with the review for it because this is obviously a big deal. It's a big game. I know. I'm going to make this prediction right now.
I don't think it'll be in the top 100 because I've noticed that there's been a lot of weird vitriol towards the game. And I think there's this weird this weird rivalry between people who like to play board games and people who like to play video games strictly a piece. Okay, what I mean is I know people that play board games and they don't play video games.
Yeah.
And from reading stuff on Reddit and Board Game Geek, there's this weird stuff where people are just like, oh, I don't have any interest in this at all. I just don't, it doesn't look cool to me at all. And it's just like, how does it not even look cool to you? Like, I've seen IPs put out games with figures that are not even remotely close to being as cool as some of these League of Legends the main character figures are. They're humongous. They're so big. They're pre-painted, and they're pre-painted well. So I don't know how you can look at this and be like, I have no interest in this whatsoever, except for the fact that you don't like that a video game company put out a super high quality board game. There's just some weird rivalry there that I think people on Board Game Geek are going to be like, this game, even though it's a 9 or an 8 or whatever, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a 6 or 7. So I don't think it'll crack the top 100. I think it'll be top 200 for sure.
Okay. You know all about it, so I'm going to trust you on this one. Let's watch it.
I'm just making a prediction. I could be totally wrong. It could be number 1 next week.
Nah, man, I know. It's crazy. This is how people are. People are strange. People are super strange about stuff like this. It gets very niche. We're dealing with a niche crowd, and people want to protect stuff.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Board gaming, when I first started getting into it, it was not like it is now. There's so many good board games right now, and man, it was a shit show back in the day. I remember it'd be like they would be advertising these games, and then they would just be god awful. It's like, how in the hell is this game on the front of the Gen Con book, and I just played it, and this game is horrible. But now it's like all that real estate is for prime games, like for prime time stuff. You got to pay the money to get your game on there, and the only companies that are doing that are the ones that put out good games. It's not just some shit show going on the front of the cover anymore. It's more competitive than it is now, and I really think that there's some holdover from back in the day when it used to be a niche crowd and it was a niche hobby. And for this huge company, this multi-billion-dollar company to come in to try and get in, I feel people kind of just feel weirdly threatened about it, and they just don't like it.
I like it. I like it, honestly, because what's going on right now is one company's gobbling everything up. They're gobbling up and what's I'd rather have more. If they're going to put out good quality games, and hey, they're going to be in their universe, what's wrong with that? If they're good games,
right?
and they're reaching out, and honestly, like, as much as it is, like, I wonder how many people were League of Legends players who didn't really play board games but saw this and was like, I'm such a League of Legends fan, I gotta have that.
That's a good question. I would like to know that too. I don't know if we'll ever be able to, but that's something I'm interested in also.
I mean, League of Legends in a time capsule right now, it's so massive, it's so huge that this is, 30,000 copies of this. That was nothing, man. I mean, it literally sold out like in a day.
Yeah, they blasted through those copies. Wow.
At $80 of, $75 a pop. They made some scratch.
And on the front page of the client, like when you open up the game, they have like news and all stuff. Right now, their world tournament is going on. Like all the teams from the regions, the best teams from all the regions get together, and then they have this giant tournament to see who's the actual world champion. So it's really neat because it's actually, you find out who the world champion is because it's from all regions. So it's truly a world championship as opposed to like the NBA. Like the Cleveland Cavaliers are the world champions. It's like, no, they're not. No. I mean, I think they would still be champions if they played the world, but, they're not playing the world. So, anyways, on the client, they had a little bit of advertisement for it. It wasn't something huge. There was like a little square in the upper corner of it. And it's kind of cool. They sold like an icon you could buy with your League of Legends points to buy and then kind of put on your profile. So you could buy that and put that there. So they didn't actually blow it out on the client like I thought they did. So I think most of their news and awareness came through stuff like the Dice Tower, the Secret Cabal, Watch It Play, things like that. So I'm really going to assume mostly board game players bought this. So that's where I'm really interested to see if this game will crack the top 100. I hope it does because I've not seen this quality components. I've yet to play the game. Everyone says it's fun. All the people that I generally follow that do review games say it's fun, and there's are people I generally agree with. So I'm just really excited to play it. But just looking at the game, it's absolutely beautiful. They did a good job. Good job, Riot.
I just can't wait to play it. So I got it. I can read the rules now, and I can't wait to play it. So let's get to playing it.
Yeah, maybe in a couple weekends. So. In kind of the same vein, we actually purchased another game that we've been talking about for a long time. We actually bought this game because of the news of Games Workshop being bought out, or actually ending their contract with Fantasy Flight. We bought Forbidden Stars. We have our copy now. We just decided to buy it. And we'd been talking about it, and I was kind of complaining to you, once a week, probably just like, this game's like $150 because everyone's buying it, and it's on eBay, and it's expensive. So, why don't you go ahead and tell them how we got a copy of this?
Well, we actually talked about it on our last podcast, and so the next day I just went to the local game store, well, the one closest to where I work. I asked if they had it, because I didn't see it on the shelf. The guy's like, yeah, I got a copy back here, but I'm holding it for Smith. And I was like, okay, so you want to sell it, or what? And it was like, well, which Smith is it? Oh, yeah, fuck that guy. Yeah, $100. And I was like, let's do it. Ring it up. And I was actually looking for some other games, and they also had the Fury of Dracula for $70, which I was like, God, I don't know. Yeah. That's a lot of money, man. It's a lot of money. Like, what, you walk into a game store and $170 later, you walk out with 2 games. You're like, dang.
Yeah, you're paying full MSRP. You're not getting any type of discount. But I think for Forbidden Stars, that was definitely worth it. I read through the rules. It's very, very similar to the StarCraft board game that we bought last Gen Con, or 2 Gen Cons ago. It's got a lot of the same rules. It is very much more cleaned up than StarCraft is, so I think you're going to love this game. Right. I think if we get a couple other players that, we'll complete our group of, competitive players who also like to, kind of mess around and have fun, it's going to be really fun.
I can't wait. Wait. So I want to really, we have a lot of stuff to play, including Pandemic Legacy. So we kind of got a lot of stuff to play, but I really want to get a day where I can play a game of Forbidden Stars and at least a game of Mechs vs. Minions and just get it rolling. You know what I mean? Just get a taste.
Yeah, I think we got that pretty much planned in about 3 weeks when we're going to watch UFC 205 together. So we plan on finishing up our pandemic game in 2 weeks, and then the third week we have another game night planned. So the podcast will be more talking about actually playing stuff. When you're playing games with players, your group's very, very important. I feel like we have a lot of diverse players generally. I think we have some weirdos, but they're fun weirdos. Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny. I feel like my wife gets the maddest out of everyone. Yeah. She just can't take it. She hates losing. And that kind of moves us on to our next topic, etiquette in gaming. And I turned you on to this a while ago, maybe a week ago, I think. Yeah. I told you about this weird interaction that I saw. It was Jason from the Dice Tower, and he played a game with Rodney, Stephen Bonacore, and the Dice Tower guys. And they played Dark Moon. And it's one of the games that Stephen Bonacore puts out through Stronghold Games. And it's a trader mechanic type of game. I've never actually played it. And I was watching it, and Jason was acting really, really weird. I know he's kind of got some social issues, but he was very aggressive, kind of, and complaining. And they were streaming this live, and it really, really spoiled the stream. It made it really, really weird. So I actually had you watch it. I believe you watched more of it than I did, because I just couldn't do it. It was very, very cringeworthy. So I just wanted to kind of see what you thought about that and just get your take on it.
Well, yeah. It was awkward. It was super awkward. And it was awkward for many reasons. One, it was very awkward for Rodney and Steven Bonacore. You could tell that. I could just look through the lens and their reactions and things. It was just like, for a number of reasons. Some of it's financial. Some of it's just, this is a weird situation to be in because we're just playing this game, and it is a simple looking game. Like, it's, you roll your dice, you have your dice hidden, and you make decisions based on it, and you can lie because people can't always see your dice. So that's what helps with the trader mechanic. And yeah, so this guy just tilts so hard and is crying about losing dice, and he's down to one die, and he ruins the whole game. He ruins the game. He's a big baby, and he's apparently the self-anointed, what's his name, Jason?
Yeah, Jason.
Jason something, the board game machine or something like that. You know what I mean? Like his because he always wins these games. Well, that's the kind of game where it's not points-based. It is some, you do have to
social-based. It's very social.
You have some social skills, and that's where he falls super short, and he imploded. And so I watched that, and I felt bad for Bonacore because I knew he's there trying to sell this game, and it is a cool looking game. I want to play it. I really want to play that game. A group of 6 people, we would have a lot of fun with that game.
Yeah, we've got a good group. We joke around, and it's so fun just messing around with each other. And when I say my wife gets mad, she doesn't get mad like that. She just gets annoyed with me because I act super arrogant, narcissistic, and things like that, which, I'm not like that in real life, but I just, tease her and stuff.
There's, you have to... No one in our group comes close to what that guy does, but everyone once in a while has a bad time, and they
for sure
they might cuss you out over something. But we're all friends at the end of it. At the end of this one, it was not only just this Jason guy though; it was the other guys in the group, and they were egging him on, and I had to figure out why. So I went back and watched another video that they were referencing, and it's when they play Resistance, and he's not as bad, but he just wigs out at a couple points of the game. And it's also with Rodney's Reviews or something like that. Not Rodney from Watch It Played. It's some guy who lives in another country. I can't remember his name. He's awesome, though. He's really funny. And Roddy, R-H-A-D-I or something like that. Roddy's Reviews or something. I don't know. I should have done my research. I'm sorry. But
that's okay. You mean Rado? Rado runs through?
Rado runs through. That guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he was there playing. And so he was just put in the awkward situation. And it's just kind of strange because they bring these guys in who don't play with the group, and to be put in that spot with the weirdo guy who's tilting out, it's not a fun situation to be put in, and I feel sorry for that guy because now he's not on their videos, and like those other guys aren't very nice to him either, though. So it's like it might be deserved. I don't know. I'm not there, but there's something.
Yeah, we're not
there's something there. And I don't remember Jason being at the Dice Tower booth. Was he at the Dice Tower booth?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I saw.
So he's still in the crew, and it's whatever. And obviously he's part of the crew, and good for him. However, though, that kind of behavior in that setting is just terrible because there's a financial segment to that. There's a guy trying to sell the game. There's a guy trying to explain the game. That's his thing. You guys are supposed to be the review guys, and at the end of it all, it wasn't Jason that stuck the knife in Steven. It was Sam. And he was just bitching about how bad the game was and how much better Battlestar Galactica is than this game. And it was just like Steven was like kind of salty, like, you guys.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah, like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay. So, I don't know. I don't like that, and I've played with some people who've melted down. I've had some horrible events playing video or board games, I'm sure, where I've been salty dog, but I don't think I've ever been. As a younger man, I am sure I've been just like Jason. When I was very young, all right? Like, you know, a game of Monopoly gone awry. Video games for sure. Got really salty as a young man playing some video games. That's a thing. But board games, maybe not so much. There's just no room for it, and it ruins time. And in this case, it probably made a relationship a little weirder than it needed to be because now apologies have to be given, and just you can't undo it because it was live and on the internet. Yeah,
it was really weird when you stream things like that. You know, I think they would know by now how he behaves, and it's strange that they weren't prepared for it. You know what I mean? I feel like if I had someone over who was involved with something and they're showing it off to me, you know, I wouldn't mind telling them that I didn't like it, but I wouldn't do it in front of a giant crowd like that. You know, you're not there to review or bash this game. You're there to play it with these guys. You know, he wasn't there. They were just there to, you know, for the Dice Tower to play this game, and they had him in because, you know, he's involved with it, so they played it, and just, you know, they're there to have fun, and they're not there to shit all over it. It was just really weird. That I don't feel like that. It wasn't Tom Vassell. It was his cronies, and you know, it was just really weird that those guys worked for him and they were behaving that way. It was very strange. I thought it was definitely unprofessional, and you got to see a raw moment of someone, you know, tilting off the planet, and it was awkward as could be. And I know Tom probably was not happy at all with what went down there. I don't know if he said anything to the other guys or even if he cared or knew about, you know, some of the shit they were saying. But yeah, it was weird. It makes them look bad because that's not something I want to watch again. You know, I'm not interested in watching that stream because of things like that. And it's weird that you know he's taking a step back now. Jason is because of what happened, and I feel like they put him in that situation they set him up to fail. And knowing how he is, they should have said, "Hey, why don't you take a step back here and we'll play this game and we'll get you in the next one or something." You're not looking out for your boys, man. So.
Absolutely, and I mean, there's a work relationship there, though. Like, I'm sorry, I'm scratching your back, you're scratching mine. I'm coming on your little show here to push this game. You guys buried me. You buried me. You told me the game sucked. This guy cried about the game the whole time. Do you think anybody wants to play this fucking game now? Everyone watches your show. Steve Bonacourt is cool as fuck.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Every time I've met him, he's been fantastic. So it was weird for them to do that to him.
Yeah, he's a super nice, genuine guy. More genuine nice than the vibe I ever got from some of those other guys. So, like, just keeping it realsies, you know what I mean? But I've also been
for sure.
I've been in some social settings there, you know, at Gen Con and stuff where you run into a bar at Steve Bonacourt, and he's super polite, and like, you know, you sit there and drink a beer with him and whatnot. Those guys don't go into bars, so you don't get to rub elbows with them that kind of way.
Right.
You know, so it is, I don't know, there's just something there. And the whole thing was just weird, and exactly. And it just did not reflect very nicely on them as a team. Because there's a nice way of saying, I prefer Battlestar Galactica. What you can say is, after playing this game, Steve, there's some similarities to Battlestar Galactica that people might like. And then Steve go, you know what? This is actually kind of like, you know, and you throw up the softball for him. Who am I to tell them how to handle their media stuff? But that was not Sam Healy has his own reviews, so you don't have to bury Steve Bonacourt to his face.
Yeah. That just wasn't. It's fine for you not to like a game, but that was not the appropriate setting or an appropriate comment at that time. It was just It was unprofessional for sure, and it's something those guys need to take into account because, you know, people, you know, like you said, if and you're like, oh, this looks like a neat game, you know, the cover looks really cool, you know, I don't play a lot of board games, let me see, you know, what this game's like. And you watch it played, and this guy's whining, and this other guy's like, well, this game sucks, I'd rather play Battlestar Galactica. You're like, wow, I'm not getting that. Fuck that game. I'm not getting that.
No, it was actually awesome. You're like, hey, watch this video. And I turned out, I was like, oh, it's awesome. It's Rodney and Steve and these guys. This is what I like. Great.
And what I like about it is, like, you sunk your teeth into it. Like, you really got into it. You had, like, you're like, well, watch this part. So you really broke it down and analyzed it. So I like that you did, because I seriously could not watch it. It was embarrassing.
Well, I like observing human behavior, so I like to watch it the first time and kind of just watch the general reaction, and then the next time kind of focus on specific people and look at what they were doing. And there's more than just that guy in the wrong. Those other guys just make things worse. And there's a tension in their relationship. You see it in a bunch of videos, though. They don't honestly like that. He's their whipping boy, man. He's their, like, whipping...
Unfortunately.
He's their whipping boy on that show, and that's, you know, whatever, if that's what you're trying to do, but it doesn't make things better when you beat the dog, and when the dog bites back, then you beat it harder.
Right. Yep. I'm with you.
Yeah. So, this past a couple weeks ago, they finished Essen, which I didn't really keep up with all that much, but I just wanted to talk about the awards, and so I put the little link in there if you want to check out some of the awards. And it's weird, though, because they announced the awards, but the event wasn't for like a whole nother... It was just a few weeks ago. So do they announce the awards before the actual Essen event? Is that how this works?
So yeah, so they announce it. They announce like who's nominated before it. So like they do it. They announce it like in May or June, I believe, and then they award the winners. So we had basically the three categories are Game of the Year. The winner was Codenames by Vlada Shavato. The runners-up were Imhotep and Karuba. I've not heard of either of those two games that did not win.
Yeah, Imhotep.
I've heard of him, but I've not heard of the board game, so I don't know what that's about. It looks cool. I've looked at it, but I've not played it and not too familiar with it. But Codenames I have played, and it is kind of a brilliant game. It's definitely a filler game. It's a party game. It's very, very simple to play. Have you played it at all?
I've not played it, but I've heard it's so freaking amazing. So
it's really good. It's a game that I don't think has the longest of legs, but it's very fun. You could definitely get a good 20, 30 plays out of it and get your money's worth. It's very, very cheap. It's very simple.
They've already come out with more stuff for it, too.
Yeah, they come out with different games like Codenames Pictures and things like that. He's playing off of it. But I've heard base Codenames is so that's definitely a good game. Like, that game came out of nowhere. It blew up and everyone loved it. It's a very fun. I do want to get a copy just to have as a filler game. It's very easy to play and it's fun. I feel like if you play it with someone, you're very familiar with, it's kind of cool to go for big. What you do is you give a clue about you'll get a card that'll have like colors on them. So like it'll have red and blue squares, and you'll set the cards out in a grid like I don't remember how big it is, 4x4 or something. So you'll draw a card and it'll have like red squares and blue squares on it, and a black square. So you have to give a clue about the blue colored cards. And if you have your partner pick the black colored card, then you automatically lose. So you got to kind of avoid giving clues for them to pick that card. So, like, for example, like if a card was on the table, there was like mountain and hill, you could say something like climb. And so someone would be like, what can you climb? And you're like, yes. But you could try and give like better clues so they pick more of the blue color cards on your cards. So it's really fun. It's a really neat game. It sets up really quickly. It plays really quickly. There's a lot of it. There's a lot to that game for the price you pay for it. It's definitely worth the game of the year. So very, very cool. Connoisseur game of the year. We had the winner is Isle of Skye from Chieftain to King. I have not heard of this game.
I have heard of this game. This is a heavy Euro game, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I've heard it's good. I've not got a chance to play it. But when I initially saw the list, I was like, oh yeah. They got some good stuff on here,
Oh, okay. So it looks really neat. It looks kind of like Carcassonne. It's tile. It has a bunch of tiles. It looks like you build it and put it together. It's an economic territory building type of game with an auction bidding mechanic, set collection, and tile placement. So it's a really pretty looking game. This game looks really neat. I'm very interested in this. So it's a family game. So it's they say it's something that ages 8 and up can play. So I'm actually interested in this, having 4 young kids. This looks good. So I'm very interested in that one. The runners-up were Pandemic Legacy Season 1, and we'll get to that in a little bit. And Time Stories, which we are also interested in playing as well.
I want to play Time Stories so bad. So bad.
We got a couple of campaign games to get through first before I think we get to that, though.
Yeah. It's going to happen, and I'm excited for it. But, yeah, when I initially saw this list, I was like, man, this is what a good year for games, They really had some good games.
So then to finish off the awards here, we got Children's Game of the Year, Stone Age Junior, by Reiner Knizia. I love Reiner Knizia. And Leo muss zum Friseur, or Leo goes to the barber. So all 3 of those games sound really, really fun. So I love what I think is really cool is that some of the children games are just genius. Do you remember when we went to Gen Con and it was the first year they were debuting that game Spot It? You can actually find Spot It in like Walmart and Target now. It's a very simple card game. The cards are round, and you put a card down, and then the kids will have a card in their hand. And when they spot something similar on the card that's down and the one in their hand, they lay it down and name like typewriter, and then they draw another one, and you keep going. You keep naming what you find on your card. So it's kind of like a Where's Waldo's game until you get through, the thing, and you finish up. So it's a very simple and geniusly designed game, and the children games are just getting better and better. It challenges them to think, and kids are a lot smarter than what people give them credit for. So I'm glad that the children games are really coming along.
Yeah, well, and that seems like what Essen, in essence, this is their wheelhouse. This is what they're going for. It's the family style, the party games, and European games. This is what they're doing over there, and I like it. It's just you can tell what they're pushing, what they're interested in, which is it's just different, and it's totally cool. It's different but really good.
Yeah, it's basically the German market. It's a lot different than here. There is some crossover. I mean, obviously, Pandemic Legacy and Time Stories, were nominated, and those generally aren't, considered like Euros or they're more campaign Ameritrashy sometimes. So It's cool. They do. It's a lot different. It's nice having different types of, awards and conventions and things like that. It adds to the diversity of the hobby. So it's all great.
I wish I could go on all the tours, go to all the conventions.
I'd love to go to Germany and just drink some beer and play some board games. That would be so fun. So, this past 2 weeks ago, we actually finally got to Pandemic Legacy, and we've been bitching and moaning about not getting this game. So, I texted you. I'm like, I'm getting that, and I'm getting Cosmic Encounters, and we're gonna play them. So we got it. We played Pandemic Legacy. We played for the first 5 months, and it is fucking amazing. I don't. That honestly is. That's how I feel. It's fucking amazing.
It is so good. It is. You don't even have. I don't care if you like Pandemic or don't like Pandemic. You sit down to play this and commit to it, and by the time you're done with it, you're gonna be like, "That is so good. That is so fucking good." Like what is happening in this game, how it develops, how it grows. It's so amazing.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, so I just want to say that, it starts off very, very simple. It starts off as a game of Pandemic, and then it slowly builds up into something different. You're like, whoa, how are we going to do this? And then you kind of get a grasp for it, and you do it. You're like, oh, that was easy. We royally fucked up the first month. Horribly. Yeah. We honestly had the worst draw ever, and we honestly failed January both times. You play each month twice. If you fail 2 times in a row, you just move on to the next. And this isn't really a spoiler. There's a box in there that says, if you lose 4 times in a row, open this box. So we're like, fuck, we're going to open this box at the end of February because we're going to lose 4 in a row. But we got our shit together. We started winning, and we're doing well. And we're like, whoa, this is pretty easy. I don't know what's going to happen. And shit just hits the fan. And we were like, I was amazed at what was going on, but I was getting tired, but I was also getting salty because it was so fucking hard to deal with.
Yeah, it was.
I was so salty, man. And I was just like, the wheels were spinning in my brain. I was like, we can't deal with this. We got to do this and this and this. And everyone's, we were pretty much all in agreement on things. My wife generally gets pretty tired around the time we were getting, to the end of the game. And she had a resource in her hand that we could have used earlier. And I'm like, you fucking had this the whole time? And you just started going, I was so fucking salty, but man, you cheered me up after that laugh. I just like, God damn it. So I want to say this: Pandemic Legacy is one of the most. It is the most unique board gaming experience I have ever had. I don't know how they put a campaign together with Pandemic, but they did, and it has exceeded all of my expectations by a huge margin.
I didn't know what to expect because I was avoiding everything. I just knew I wanted to play it, and now that I'm playing it, it's all that I want to play. And every time I'm looking at another board game, and I just got this game in the mail. We've played a couple board games since then, and I was like, why am I not just playing Pandemic Legacy right now? And the only problem is I can't go back and play regular Pandemic right now. I have to get through this campaign.
Agreed.
And I don't know if I can ever go back. It's like there's no looking back.
Thankfully, they just announced Season 2, so we're in business.
No, that's fine. I love this. This is how I want to play Pandemic. I don't want to play regular Pandemic anymore ever again. Right. I want to play this. This is amazing. This is fun. Too. This is genius. This is the unexpected. This is just, it's so good and so different than anything you've ever played. And this is us talking about the game in very vague terms because we have to, but for your sake, and eventually we will have a spoiler episode, and we have a couple videos up and stuff like that. So it's just been super fun, and watching the Dice Towers play through, we were rocking it, man. And I just stopped because we were about to get to the same point, and I didn't want any spoilers, so I just stopped.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm just so ready for when we can get together and knock this out, and hopefully we can do it in one more session.
Yeah. So we are going to get to it in 2 weeks, and hopefully we can get it finished, and then maybe do a spoiler cast and talk more about it. But I'm with you, man. That's all I've been thinking about. I really want to finish this game before I honestly play any other games. I'd rather finish this before I play Mechs and Minions, Forbidden Stars, Cosmic Encounter, anything. I want to finish this more than anything. We actually had a friend who was wanting to come over the day we planned to do it, and you're like, nope, we're playing Pandemic. we're not hanging out with anyone. We're playing fucking Pandemic.
I said he could play. He can play the other character, but is that a
But fuck him. We're playing Pandemic.
God, I'm sorry. I just want to play. Is that bad?
No, I do too. You have nothing to be sorry about.
We can just play Mechs and Minions and Forbidden Stars. It's fine, but like I want. That's why I go. Okay, that's why deadline. The Friday, Black Friday.
Yep.
That means if that means we're playing Black Friday, that's the day we're playing it. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So make it happen. All right.
It'll happen. It is happening 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
So. Moving on, I'm going to actually change this up a little bit. Not to harp on... We love the Dice Tower. They're a lot of fun, but we wanted to talk a little bit about Tom Vasel's top 10 games here a little bit. You had that marked down, so I'll let you go ahead and take the reins here.
Well, we all love the Dice Tower. They do a great service to us, you know what I mean? But it's something to talk about. They're the big media outlet, man. It's like, if I'm sitting around criticizing CNN for being a corporate shill of... what they used to be, they're freaking, I feel like they're just bought and paid for it. Now, I don't feel that way about the Dice Tower, so I'm not implying that in any way, but what I'm saying is they are media, and I can criticize media in any way that I see fit. Okay? See fit. And I was watching the videos, and Tom does this really cool, elaborate thing, his top 100 games. They all do it, so I like to watch and see, where do my games lie. And then you'd send me a thing like, hey, Tom's top 10 games came out, and he has a lot of games that we like, and he definitely has a lot of games that we like. But I just had to talk about one game in particular, and he has in his top 5 the Dice Masters series. And it's his list, and that's fine.
Yeah, but, I think I know where you're going with this, too.
But that game ain't that cool. And its model it's very similar to what Magic does, but Magic is just so much better than that game. And so it's like, why don't you just play Magic, dude? Why don't you just commit? And he never talks about Magic the Gathering. Why is that? And if he did, that game would be in his top 10. I feel like it, because he has so many games that align with what the games that I like and stuff. And it's like Dice Masters it's cheap, it's cheesy, it's not that cool. You played it a little bit, I played it a little bit. I feel like it's a ripoff. Honestly, that's a game that is not going to retain its value in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know if that was just, I was just really, I saw that and I was just like, Dice Masters. I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's I'm with you. I think that Magic the Gathering is one of the best games ever to be put on the planet, to be developed, and it's not in his top 100 at all. It's not anywhere on that top 100 at all.
I never hear him talk about it at all, ever.
Yeah, and this is just coming from seeing other videos. I don't know if this is correct or not. I know he says he I don't think he talks bad about it. He doesn't like games that have a meta. So like when they have Type 2 Magic, they build these particular decks and things like that. But I'm sure there's meta and stuff like that in competitive Dice Masters, if they even have that anymore. I don't know that community is big at all, or that they have a lot of tournaments. I'm sure they do somewhere, but I think he has Android Netrunner on there somewhere, and that's a game that has meta also. So I don't know why he doesn't have it on there, because it's honestly one of the best card games of all time. It's so good, and it's just beautifully balanced. But
yeah, he has Summoner Wars on there.
Yeah,
Summoner Wars is in his top 10 or top 5. I didn't even pull the list up because Dice Masters what stood out. But now I think about it, dude, Summoner Wars is freaking. It's
Magic. Yeah,
but it ain't Magic. So
I think maybe just the collectability and the rarity probably may get to him. I don't want to poop in a cereal too much, but I agree with you in essence. It's if you want to put Dice Masters that in that competitive realm of having a meta and building tournament decks and stuff, then you can put Magic on your list too and have it just be a casual because people do play Magic casually and enjoy it. It's still a good game, just if you don't have all that stuff. So I'm with you, Bob. I agree. So it was, but in all fairness, he had a lot of good games on there. Like he had
great games.
He had Battle Lore 2nd edition at 12. That really surprised me because I love Battle Lore. I feel like Battle Lore doesn't get enough love, and he's one of the prime supporters of Battle Lore. So I love that he had that at number 12. I'd love if it had cracked the top 10, but you know what? It did. It's 12 is a great number, and then he had Descent at 9. I love Descent. He had
in his top 10.
He had what?
Arcadia Quest.
Yeah. Blood Rage was up there. He had a lot of
Cosmic Encounter
trash games and
game.
Yeah. So he had a lot of games in there that weren't heroes and stuff. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I love so many of those same games. He aligns with me in so many ways, but then it's to go there, and it's just I just don't know. I don't get it. There's something fishy.
yeah. It is strange. It's weird that he doesn't. I'm sure he recognizes that Magic's one of the greatest games of all time. It's just probably for him personally, it's just not his thing for some reason. I mean, I say this, and I haven't played Magic in years, and it's still one of my favorite games of all time. So, yeah. All right. We are all finished up with our news and our whatnot, so we're going to go ahead and move on to our review today. And our review is going to be Letters from Whitechapel. So I'm going to let Matt take the reins once again and talk about Letters from Whitechapel.
Do you like to wear a top hat?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I would.
Do you care to ever walk with a cane at night?
I mean, yeah, that'd be pretty neat.
Do you like to slit prostitutes' throats?
Oh, I'll plead the fifth on that one.
Well, in this game, bub, you get to do all those things.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Letters from Whitechapel is a game for 2 to 6 players. It is a hidden movement game where one player plays as Jack the Ripper, moving around the little town that's before you, London, at night. And his goal is to pick out a lady of the night, take care of her, and then the other players play as the detectives, and they try to capture Jack the Ripper. In essence, that's the very most simplistic way to put it, but it is a great game with tons of strategy to it, and it's so much fun to play as Jack the Ripper, and it's a lot of fun to play as the detectives too. But I've played it multiple times now from different perspectives, and I have the most fun playing Jack the Ripper because it's so fun to mess with people in this game. So how it plays is it plays in 4 nights. Each of the nights, Jack will kill one or multiple. We just call them prostitutes. Okay, we call them a lot of names. We mostly prostitutes though. So the first night Jack lays out eight white markers, and only 5 of those markers are actually going to be where the girls will actually be placed on the board. It's a strategy technique because then the lead detective of the other players who are not Jack the Ripper, they all play as detectives, they're going to place out black markers, and those markers some of them are not actually going to be police either. So it's this little strategic game you play at the beginning, and it allows Jack to think whether he just wants to kind of reveal where the women are, and he'll decide if he wants to kill one, or if he wants to kind of figure out some information about where the cops are going to be. And so he can actually kind of wait a few turns before he decides to kill. And by doing so, this actually helps him later. He'll have more movement if he does this. So it actually behooves you to gather more information. If you gather more information, it's a good thing. You're going to get more movement to try to get back to your hideout, which is a really cool strategy to use, and I used it definitely in my game multiple times, and it helped a lot because I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough movement if things got really weird and I had to do some weird stuff, because you can get pinned down in this game playing as Jack the Ripper, and you have specific rules to movement that can hinder you, so you got to be slick in this game. And so you'll wait, or you'll decide to kill, and at that time you'll reveal where the hookers are and which prostitute, you'll reveal where the prostitute is. I don't know if there's a better name for it. Lady of the night. You kill the hooker, and you put a marker down. And now that is the only time the cops will know in the first night where Jack the Ripper is. They'll know right that moment that Jack is at number 148 or number 72 or wherever it is on the board. And then Jack and the cops are going to take turns moving him out the board. And Jack has so many movement, and starts at 15, but can go up to even more. He'll have at least 15 moves to get back to his hideout, or if he doesn't, then he gets caught, or the cops can catch him somewhere in those 15 turns. You can get a little more movement by waiting up to, like, it's either 19 or 20. And so you can get enough movement to slither around the whole board and get back to your hideout. And you do this same thing. You're going to go through the same routine. You decide where you kill her, then the cops are going to move, then Jack's going to move, and he's going to tell you, I moved one space. And then the cops will move, and they're only allowed to ask 2 questions. Are you here, or were you here? And those are 2 very different questions. So, like, I might very well be in that spot, and you're going to ask, was I there? And that's fine, I can say yes. But if you would have said, are you there? And I said yes, then you could make the arrest and capture Jack the Ripper. And that's very important, because sometimes you got to just go with your gut and make an arrest. Like it might be the best move to make is make an arrest. So you're going to do all those things, and eventually Jack will declare if he's gotten back to his hideout. And he does have some special movement that he can use to help him. He can jump in a carriage and move 2 spaces, or he can use a lantern and cut through an alley. And these are 2 types of movement that allow him to get really far across the board in a short amount of time. And they are strategically, you have to use them because each night you have fewer and fewer. So the first night you can kill the one furthest away from your hideout and get back to your hideout very easily. Now, the detectives, as they're asking questions, they'll eventually discover, hey, were you at 143? Yes. They'll put a clue down there, and that clue will stay for the rest of the game. And you can use all this information to figure out where Jack's been going each night. And in our game, you guys did a great job the first night. You knew where I was. Like, you knew that I was within these couple blocks. And that was a big strategy throughout the game. It really was. And, like, you can figure out a lot of information over the course of the 4 nights. And so, like, that's how the first night goes. And Jack's going to get back to his hideout unless you guys are really good. On the second night, same thing. On the third night, you're going to kill two ladies. And you're going to move from wherever the second one that you killed. So it's kind of nice. You can kill 2 all, different spots around the board. And you just have to move from the second one. And then on the 4th night, you just, you have to kill the last girl. And then get back to your hideout and you win the game. And so it's very simple. Now for the detectives, though, you're going to rotate each night, and a different person's going to be the lead detective and going to make some of the major choices in the game where you position different cops. Like, it is, I feel like, very upfront. The game is balanced a lot towards Jack, but that is a good idea, because if you caught him the first night, who wants to keep playing this game? it's a good idea to have it a little balanced, heavy towards Jack at the beginning, but I felt later in the game it is very balanced for the police, and they have a good chance. By then they should have a lot of information and have an idea of where Jack the Ripper is for his hideout, to capture him at his hideout. So that's pretty much Letters from Whitechapel in a nutshell. It is a hidden movement game, so it's very fun to play. It's a lot of fun to play as Jack the Ripper because you're just writing your movement down on your little notepad. I didn't trust you guys, so I kept mine in my pocket. Like, I was not going to give up any information. And you have your own little tableau, so you don't have to stare at the board, and people can't look at your eyes and see what you're doing. You can kind of stay off to the side and do your own thing. But it's also fun to throw a lot of misinformation out there and mess with people when they think they're onto something. Like, it's so much fun to play this game, and it's so much fun to play as Jack the Ripper. And I had a great time, and I'm pretty sure you guys had a great time, and I want to play again and give you an opportunity to play, because I think you would really enjoy running around this board, and because it's so much fun when you're just like literally standing next to a cop. You're like right next to him, you know what I mean? Or you're like 2 or 3 spaces away, and you're just like, just waiting on you to do something. Like, when you do something, then I'm going to do something. Like, it's so awesome. It's so awesome. So, Letters from Whitechapel, I've played it before, but I bought it at Gen Con in the auction. I was happy to get it. I'm excited to play it again with you guys, and I think it's a game that I know Amanda's going to want to play as Jack the Ripper. I know that Mark's going to, you know what I mean? DDR is going to want to play as Jack the Ripper. Like, everyone's going to want to play this game at some point and play as the guy who's slithering around the board, killing the prostitutes. So, Letters from Whitechapel, I love it. It's a great game.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. This is the first time I've played the game. I feel like when we were playing, I feel like half of our people were on the same page and the other half weren't. So I feel like this game is going to get better the more we play it. I feel like once everyone has a better idea of what they're trying to do and what they're looking for and the flow of the game, it's going to get better and better. It'll get more competitive. Jack will have to do different things to confuse the cops. So this is a game I'm looking forward to playing 20 times, and be like, oh, remember last time Matt was this, he did this, so let's look out for that move. He doubled back and went and did that. So this is something I can't wait to play again. It's a game that I've always wanted to play. It's been on my radar for a long time, and as things do, they kind of fall through the cracks, but we are always on the prowl for games that do specifically that. They fall through the cracks. We picked up Memoir 44, we picked up this, and we're getting to these classic games now, and that's what's so fun about, board games. Like I always say, you don't need a console, you don't need an Xbox 360, you don't need an Xbox One, a PlayStation 4 specifically to play. Board games are their own console. You can pop them out anytime and they're ready to go. So this game, I loved it, man. I love the psychology of the game. I love the hidden movement mechanic. The game plays very simply. It's easy to teach. It's easy to play. It's a game that you could. It's sometimes, if you go all 4 nights, obviously it's going to take a little bit longer. But the more you play, the smarter the players are going to get when they do play this. So that's the point I can't wait to get to. Is to the point when we've played the game a bunch of times, we're more competitive, and you have to trick each other. So, fantastic game, 2 thumbs up. I cannot wait to get back to this one. So fun.
Well said, brother. So, we'll get on the table again soon, but we got a lot of other games to play. But, hey, if we get together before Halloween sometime, it was in that vein. We were trying to do some Halloween games that night, so it was kind of fun, running around killing some prostitutes. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. So, alrighty. So, we're nearing the end of our podcast here, and we always like to do our quick 5. So, we've actually had a lot of board game talk tonight. So, change pace here and do our quick 5 is our favorite podcast. These don't have to be gaming podcasts at all. These can just be whatever we like to listen to. I'm afraid there might be a little rollover and, stuff that we both listen to, because obviously we talk a lot about the same stuff, but we'll see how it pans out. So I'll get started here. My number 5.
Quick 5! Quick 5!
Quick 5. My number 5 is the podcast history of our world. I love history, and I've recently just I've rekindled my love of history, and this is a really cool podcast. He's released 70 episodes so far, and he started from, the Dawn of Man, the Big Bang. He started from that and all the way to the Dawn of Man, and, he talks about Cyrus the Great and, all these other leaders, and it literally goes just through the entire, human history. And he's on, I believe, at the moment, and currently it's the downfall of the Roman kingdom, so he's, it's not like he's not modern yet, but he does a really good job. He has a very good cadence with his voice. He's very informative. He's pretty funny. I mean, some of the jokes are pretty lame, but they're lame in a good way. I love the podcast history of our world. I definitely recommend it. And what's really cool about it is the podcasts are generally no longer than 30 minutes. The longest one I've ever seen, I think, is 30 minutes. And he did a retelling of the story of Gilgamesh, and he did it with different voices and stuff. It was really neat, but generally they're about 20, 22 minutes long. He gives you a good chunk of information about some civilizations or some leaders, things like that. It's a great podcast. He does a very good job, and that's one of my favorites right now.
Number 5. I like to listen to the Alex Jones podcast. I'm not ashamed to say it. He's a right-wing gun nut conspiracy theorist, and I have enjoyed his stuff during this election cycle so much. He's been just spitting hot fire this whole election cycle, covering Hillary, covering Trump, covering everything, this giant debacle that is becoming, and it's just endless material for him, and he's hilarious. I love his cadence. He's so Southern, so Texas, and he does these great voices, and I watched this live stream after I watched the last presidential debate, then I watched his live stream, and it's like Mystery Science Theater, but with Trump and Hillary, and he would do voiceover on Hillary, and it was like the voice of the devil speaking to you, and it was just hilarious, and oh my god, I love the Alex Jones show. He's a crazy person, and I don't know how much he actually believes, but
that's what I was just going to ask you.
I'm glad he's out there, and
do you honestly believe he's a character?
It's not all conspiracy, though. A lot of this stuff, especially right now, they're doing WikiLeaks stuff. They're like, there's so much WikiLeaks right now, we have endless material. Somebody has to be going through this because you can't trust the media to do this for you. CNN is not covering WikiLeaks. They are covering Trump. You know what I mean? We are going through all the WikiLeaks shit and trying to just spew out as much as we can. And I like it. Because I can't comb through that stuff, and I think it's valuable information to have. So, do I think he's a character? Yeah, I think he saw a segment in the marketplace kind of set up by Rush Limbaugh and stuff in the 90s, and he just went a little more extreme with it, and it's actually has a pretty cult following, and I mean he's on over 100 stations, he's on Sirius, he's on all your major stuff. I mean, Alex Jones is a big deal. He's millions of YouTube views. He's a big deal in the audio realm, and video, online video realm. So he's doing big stuff. Infowars.com, Alex Jones, he's the man. I love him. He's funny. He's hilarious. He's just crazy. So, Alex Jones Show, check it out. That's my number 5. You want me to come back with a number 4?
Sure do.
I'm going to hit you up. I love sports, and so I'm not going to go with a bunch of sports ones, but I'm going to hit you up with my favorite right now. And, it's the Jalen Jacoby podcast. The Jalen Jacoby podcast is Jalen Rose and David Jacoby, and they cover sports, but primarily they cover basketball, and I think they are the best. They got the best thing going in basketball. And I love Bill Simmons. So this was down. I was only going to put one sports thing on this list. So Jalen Jacoby are beating out the BS report for me because I love their back and forth. I love their integration of comedy, clips from movies. I want our stuff to someday be in the vein of that, where we have clips set up at a moment's notice, cool background music all the time. They got it all. They got it all engineered up, and it's great, and they're smooth back and forth, and they're knowledgeable about sports, and it's like you got Jalen Rose, who's the insider of basketball with a pro's perspective, but also connection to all these players, and then you got David Jacoby, who's like your regular Joe, like me and you, and we get his perspective, and a lot of time we have similar thoughts. So check it out, Jalen Jacoby, number 4. Booyah.
I love Jalen and Jacoby. That's definitely it's probably my number 6. I love them. They just haven't been on my phone lately, just because it's not basketball season. So I don't really listen to them when it's not basketball season.
It's not that consistent right now either. Like they're not doing as much content right now. So
makes sense. So. Alrighty, my number 4 is probably one you've never heard of. You've probably heard me talk about it in the past, but it's probably went in and out, since then. So this is an older one I used to listen to in like 2005 or 6 or something like that. It's called GFW Radio. They're no longer together, obviously. They had like a good 4 or 5 year run or something like that. It was basically a gaming podcast that had one of the best storytellers I've ever heard, Sean Elliott. He would tell these hilarious stories that were just absolutely ridiculous. He's such a good storyteller, and he just would always he was a people watcher. You definitely notice that he was a people watcher. He would notice people in these weird situations, or he'd pick up on weird things that people do, and he would just, he would just explain them perfectly, He wouldn't exaggerate them or anything like that. He just met a lot of weird people, and he was a great storyteller. He'd always tell these weird things. And, they wrote for a magazine, so they did this little podcast, and it was not like any other gaming podcast. They would talk about games every now and more. You could just tell they were all buddies, and they just like to talk about just weird stuff and weird things they do in games, and it was just one of the most endearing podcasts I've ever listened to. It made me laugh every week. It made my hour and 20-minute drive to work much simpler. So I definitely miss that podcast. It's one that's not on, but I would definitely go back and download a torrent and listen to it again, because they were that funny and they told very, very cool stories. So my number 3, let me think of which one I want to put on there, and I guess it doesn't matter. We don't order anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and go with the Joe Rogan Experience. When he doesn't have the same dudes on for the 400th time, Joe Rogan definitely has his group of friends, which is fine. I mean, he has, obviously his, best friends. He's going to have them on a lot, but it just sometimes gets repetitive. But when he has different, people on there like fighters or scientists, I just really like his interview style. He's got a very open mind, so he's very good at directing a conversation so that he'll ask very poignant questions, and he'll listen to what the answer is. He won't interrupt. He'll listen to the answer, and then he'll ask questions. Whether he disagrees or not, he'll ask questions about their answer. He's a great interviewer. He's been doing it a long time. The podcast is just, he's obviously very funny. His podcast is number 1 for a reason. So, Joe Rogan Podcast.
Oh, I love the old Joe Rogan Podcast. And I remember catching it on, like, webcast for the first time and just being like, what is this? What is this live recording? What is going on here? This is a thing.
It is.
And
he made it a big thing.
This is a thing, and it's a fun thing. And it was like, when it was over, I was like, I just leave the camera on. I just want to hang out, like it was like that. So Joe Rogan's not on my list, but he should be on the list. He's great. He's amazing, but I don't want this to be completely duplicitous between us here. So I'm gonna go with the Fighter and the Kid. I almost feel like the Fighter and the Kid is the spin-off show of the Joe Rogan. But it's
100%.
It is the spinoff, and it's amazing, and it's funny, and I love when they get back together. I love when they do their fight stuff together. I also really enjoyed Joe Rogan's this weekend. He had guys that were not from the Fighter and the Kid do the compendium, and they were doing like kickboxing. So I really enjoyed that. But the Fighter and the Kid, I like their back and forth, and they don't always have to have a guest, because I like those two guys playing off each other. And they're funny. They're 100% they're funny. So I love the Fighter and the Kid. That's my number 3. So hit you up with a number 2. Number 2 will be Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. I love Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. It is so good, and it only comes out like quarterly, and it is like everything a podcast should strive to be. The quality, like, he's got a great thing going there, and I know you love it as well. I love his voice. I love his delivery.
Again!
I love how he changes his voice to be different characters. You can tell that he spends a long time putting this stuff together. He is not just flying by the seat of his pants. He's doing massive amounts of research, and he's telling a story in a way that you or I can understand. And when sometimes you get to a point you're like, I'm lost, he like do a really good job of bringing you right back. And like, he's just a great storyteller, and tries to keep it fact based, and tries to also give you where he thinks the facts are, and where the myth is, and where what this country believes compared to what this country believes, because they don't always believe the same thing about something that happened in history. And it's just like, it's mind blowing. So Dan Carlin, number 2, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History.
This is my number one. Dan Carlin's Hardcore History is my absolute favorite podcast. I can just download an episode that I've listened to. I've listened to all the stuff on Stitcher multiple times, and I want to listen to it again. I remember listening through the Blueprint for Armageddon series for the first time. I was just fascinated, and I got so obsessed with World War I. I went and got some John Keegan books. Who Dan Carlin does not like John Keegan at all, but I read through the book, and listening to the podcast series, which was like almost, I think, 30 hours or something ridiculous like that. It all stuck in my head because he tells such a good story. He makes everything so digestible and really breaks everything down beautifully. And, reading through the book, I was just able to like, oh yeah, I remember this. Again, I remember it in quote. And, all of his great things he says. He's got his preparation for the podcast is, you can just tell it's unparalleled. He does such a good job that the podcast is edited beautifully. It flows perfectly. And the one thing I don't like about the podcast is when he's doing a series, like, so he'll be on like whatever episode 1, you're like, man, I gotta wait 6 months for the next episode, and all I want to do is just learn about this. I don't want to do the work. I don't want to do the preparation and go read about this. I want to hear Dan Carlin tell me about this. Again. So I want him to tell me again. So Dan Carlin's Hardcore History is my number 1. So,
oh man, I
roll back to my
15 hours of Mongolian. Listen to 15 hours of Genghis Khan.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. I recommend it to everyone, and everyone that I have got to actually listen to it, love it. I mean, he's the best in the business. I love Dan Carlin. And I recommend his other one, Common Sense. I've been trying to get you to listen to it. It's so good. I know you love politics, so you need to listen to what he has to say, because he does such a good job. Just think Hardcore History about politics. So good. So we'll roll back to my number 2, and then we'll get to your number 1. My number 2 game podcast is the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast. This is one that I listen to religiously, whereas the others, like Joe Rogan, I choose and pick. But I listen to every Secret Cabal podcast. I like the dynamic of the friends. They do a good job. I just think it's the cream of the crop of gaming podcasts, because you're getting friends actually, giving you their opinion of the game, and they have relationships, so they each like different types of games, so they'll razz each other about liking a certain game, or mess with each other. It's just what you would want. You would want friends to tell you what games are good, and they try to be all inclusive and make you feel a part of it. They do a really good job. I love those guys. I've met them, a bunch of times with you, and they are very, nice people. They're quality people. I'm just so happy that they're starting to kind of blow up. They do a great job. They're deserving of all the success they have, and their podcast is one of my favorites for sure. So the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast is my number 2.
It's amazing, and I can't top that with what I'm going to say. I mean, I obviously love those guys too, but I don't always listen to every episode. I listen to some of every episode, and usually at some point I'll fall asleep or something because they are very long. I love them. That is not a knock in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying they are. They run 3 or 4 hours, and sometimes I snooze off in those times. My number 1.
Can I guess it?
Go ahead.
What?
It is the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast. I am a mark for wrestling, and I'm also a mark for hearing about the stories, the real stories of professional wrestling, not the fake stories. I want to hear about the stories in the hotel rooms. I want to hear about the stories about the road. I want to hear the stories about getting in fights with management. That's the stuff, and that's the stuff you get on his show. Not every episode, every few episodes, sometimes only in spurts, but those choice ones are so good because people will be very candid. People feel very comfortable with Steve. Steve's like a regular guy.
He was a worker just like they were.
They just they feel very comfortable, and before you know it, they're telling you all the stuff, and it's amazing. So, yeah.
Talk about a storyteller. He's a great storyteller.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem like he has CTE or anything, so that's really good. I think he's going to be around for a while and actually be one of those wrestlers who's found success post wrestling.
Yes.
To the point where this will keep him on the right track for the rest of his life. He's got a crowd. He's got a very, it's a loyal audience, and it's a growing audience, and it's cool because he covers current wrestling, but then he also gives you old wrestling, and it's just really good, man. I like it a lot. It's niche, probably to a lot of people. It has nothing to do with board games, but I really enjoy the Steve Austin. He has 2 podcasts, the Steve Austin Show and then the Stone Cold Podcast.
Yeah, that's a great podcast. I listen to that one from time to time, and obviously, I like wrestling just like you do. We grew up together, and we loved watching Stone Cold and wrestling, and he's a great storyteller, and when he gets another wrestler or someone in the business in the room, and they're able to just riff off each other, it's beautiful. It's like the Big Bang. It's just everything's just created and it's beautiful, and he does such a good job of just getting the story out of the wrestlers. Where sometimes there'll be wrestlers that just aren't very good at speaking, and he does a good job of guiding them without forcing them into something they don't want to talk about. It's a great podcast. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people don't like wrestling. There are a lot of people that do. But if you are someone who wants to kind of get the behind-the-scenes look and listen to some very good stories, that's a phenomenal podcast. He does such a good job, and it's one of the best. So that is our quick 5. We'll go ahead and wrap up here. Do you have any final words or anything you got to say before we wrap this show up?
Nah, man. I think not really. The next time, hopefully, we'll be covering some more Pandemic and Mechs and Minions and Forbidden Stars, and we'll just have a lot of new stuff to talk about. So I look forward to talking to you guys then.
Yeah, it's going to be the next podcast is going to be chock full of gameplay. It's going to be a good one. So thanks for podcasting with me, my best longest. Thanks for spending time with me today. So we'll catch you guys next time on the Fighting Dirty Gaming Podcast.